Salvage challenge. Aegis Day, we got the Tiburon. You can pledge it for 840 IRL. We did a short review on that. We linked the video on top. But what we had seen here is the red paint. The red paint comes for 760 with the ship, of course, if you spent already too much money onto this project. And we did that, yeah, we don't need a game package anymore. And that red paint actually was the thing that made us thinking about pledging for the Tiburon. It's not that we have use for the Tiburon, no, it's just a big heavy ship, but it looks awesome. That red paint looks awesome. We really love the red stuff here. So this is what CIG needs to do to get us into it, but even the default paint, the black and red, is also sexy. I like the satanic color pattern, black and red. That would be the thing. But 700, yeah, 780, 840 IRL for a ship we have no use for is too much. And even if we would have use for 700 just so, because of the red paint, is a little bit too much right now. Because we pledged for the ironclad, and what we had seen from the ironclad, that is a disgrace. And that's why we are not keen on spending any money anymore into this project, because it is a disgrace. And if we, the backers, the pledgers, would see us more as customers than consumers, we would advise you to get money refund on the ironclad if you pledged at the
Let's gonna have a check
opening.
how many SUs the Aegis Tiburon will give us. The Aegis Tiburon is too big. Too big to fracture. Okay. But it would be 232. Yeah, 231. 80 seconds on self-destruct.
It's nice that we see the outline even in third person. We go from the smaller pieces to the big ones.
147
and here we got
SUs. This is way too much for the moth. It doesn't do printing.
Yeah, we want to empty the buffer in order to suck in that 140 SUs.
Maybe we need to repair the ship. Oh Jesus, this looks like a big part.
Yeah, also too big. Yeah, now the buffer is full, we go back to the station. What we figured is that when you are landed... Oh, Jesus. We are way too impatient. Yeah, when you touch down, the printer works again. Yeah, the automatic printer works once you're landed. And we do not know if we do self-destruct the ship or repair, but we need to empty the ship first. Didn't do anything, it still doesn't print. We have no experience, not much, on the moth. This is the first time since the moth came out where we actually utilizing in the salvage challenge. Because the moth had the same issue like the ironclad. Yeah, they do concept, not the moth, but the ironclad, and then you do development, and then they raise funding, more funding, and then release it, and the ship is not finished. Not at all. It doesn't do the job. And so we waited for the moth, and now we try to figure out how that ship works. But by the end of the salvage challenge, we would say that we collected enough experience to know how the ship actually works. So in this particular episode here, we tried to figure out how that auto printing works, or what we need to do in order to make it not work. And we are back on the spot. Another Tiburon, and you see all orange, all big parts. Buffer is full, we gotta print the boxes. Yeah, see? Auto printing is active. Active while disintegration. And it looks like as if it's not good if you have auto printing activated while disintegration. The distance is not that big from the pilot seat to the printing terminal. We got some boxes left and right. Yeah, this is the ironclad base model. Mobile operation. And as you can see, we had been out here for a while now. What is this? A third of the ironclad filled up with construction pieces. Another thing what we are not quite sure yet is what happens if you have auto printing activated and do at the same time move the boxes away from the grid. Does that have an impact? Guess we will figure it out. We have 12 boxes left and 12 boxes right. There's 24 times 8 SUs, 192 SUs we can have on the grid, plus another 64 SUs in the buffer. That gives us a total of 256 SUs of salvage material. So the printing doesn't work. It is super annoying. So let's have a check. Touchdown. This side no boxes. Also no boxes. We're gonna lower and raise the elevator with the ship on top of it. Let's see if that has an impact, because sometimes even when you do repair the ship, sometimes you need to store and retrieve the ship in order to have the repair in effect. And maybe when we do printing, we also need to do store and retrieve the ship in order to give the signal or the command to actually print the boxes. We would argue that this process is complex, but we have our doubts that it is actually complex. Sometimes we have doubts in CIG's ability to do the proper mechanics in a mechanical way, in a logical way, and then execute in code. No box yet, but it is open, so there will come out the box. Yeah, here it is, and on the other side as well. Okay, at least 2 boxes. So the issue here is we had a full buffer. The printing takes up to 30 seconds. Let's see if more boxes come out. And if not, no, it doesn't look like. Then we lost the whole buffer, yeah. So don't store and retrieve the ship when you have auto printing activated. You will lose everything what's inside the buffer. We're gonna verify. Yeah, verified. We lost basically a complete buffer just because auto printing is either bugged or we do not know how to handle auto printing. So we're gonna save these 2 boxes and then heading out. Yeah, it is really difficult to find these scrapping pieces out in space because they don't have target. And if they are too close, the ping reflect comes too fast, and the more distanced elements reflect, but they are not pieces. Okay, another time, buffer full. So these lights there from this operation center is actually great. That gives us signs for centering the ship, more or less. And we have lots of boxes here, left and right. We just basically empty the moth and drag the boxes into the ironclad. And we do the box moving inside the ironclad later on, as soon as we have more boxes. It is a tedious work, but we gotta say, with this amount of SUs, it is kinda joy. It is rewarding, if you will. But we will see how unrewarded Star Citizen will be at the end of the day. So manual printing. Ah, damn. We had auto printing activated, then we deactivated auto printing, but looks like as if the boxes don't come out. Awesome sound design. Gotta admit, we will do a proper video on the ironclad, what works and what doesn't, and what we would recommend to all the new backers of the ironclad who spend IRL money into the ironclad at the day of release. Yeah. Claim a money refund. IRL money, not store credit. IRL money. Because if you buy an online article or a digital asset, you have a money back guarantee. We do not know the legal aspect of it, but it should be 10 days or maybe even longer. But within 10 days, you can get the money back. And if you are too lazy or too afraid of Christ robbers, then you just call your credit card company and ask them that you bought something. Yeah, you bought something, a digital asset, and that you didn't get the delivery, and so they will do the job for you, or at least the request itself, and then CIG will notice, okay, a lot of people switched from consumer to customer. It's a mental state. If you are a consumer, it's a different mental state than if you are a customer, and a customer wants to get a product and in exchange of money, of course, yeah. So if you spend the money but you don't get the product, then you can get the money back, of course. That also counts for digital assets like virtual spaceships. But here on the Marth, they are still struggling. How do we do these auto printing stuff? So we did store and retrieve, but this time from the ass up down below, not from the hangar. And we again have one box. Yeah, that active printing job, that will be finished if you do store and retrieve the ship. That one particular job, left and right, that will be done if you do store and retrieve the ship. But if you have auto printing still activated, that doesn't work. Yeah, they don't give you the rest of the boxes. And if you have the hopper full, the hopper will be emptied afterwards, so you lose. Back on the spot. As you can see, we got plenty of these ships. We already know right now that Aegis Day is a good day when it comes to the Salvage challenge. We got plenty of SUs, as you had seen before in the Ironclad. It's almost 50% full, and with the Hammerhead and the Tiburon, we have a good option. And see, even here we got 143 SUs for that piece, which is way too much for the buffer. So when we basically empty the buffer and then suck that big piece in, we have a complete buffer. That is awesome. That is a joy. And even just the video recording for this particular video was something like 5 hours, and we edited it down, and that gave us at the end, spoiler alert, 1,400 SUs of construction pieces. And then we want to figure out if we can make the Tiburon. Is this the Tiburon? No, this is the hammerhead. Can we make the hammerhead smaller to get smaller pieces once we self-destruct? So we try to with the new ship. We try to cut the pieces off because why not? I mean, they offer the ships, and we want to find out how they perform. And we gotta say, yeah, every time when CIG releases new ships, like in this particular case, the Tiburon, they are basically overpowered for few days, for few weeks, and afterwards they're gonna nerf it. So at the moment, we gotta say this laser is awesome. It takes a while to do damage, but it is awesome. Let's see in a few months from now what they do with the laser power. Yeah, this is a stable piece. Do a little bit more to the left and right. Yeah, this is better. Nice. Okay. So should be the turrets should also be removable, but not by the laser. You need to have something else. And here we got 6.7 in the buffer plus 37 from the hammerhead. You maybe noticed this plus percentage and minus percentage. At the beginning we thought that has a more yield effect, but it doesn't. It is the speed of how fast it will be disintegrated. We don't have scientific data for that. That is just observation. But you can do it yourself. Yeah, have more distance to the object you want to disintegrate. It takes longer time. Makes sense. And if you get closer, it speeds up. Also makes sense. Would it make sense that you get more yield if you get closer? Yes, it would make sense, because you will collect more stuff because you are close enough. If you are too far away, the pebbles, the pieces can be floating around in space and you cannot suck it all in. So that is the thesis, yeah, either speed or more yield. We figured, based on our observation, it is the speed. And so, manual printing, when we press auto printing, it starts immediately. Let's see if they come out this time. No fracturing, no disintegration, just printing, auto printing. We hear sound as if something is going on. Come on, hurry. We are way too impatient for this shit. Yeah, Star Citizen is a massive time sink. Yeah, if you have no life, 44 SUs in the buffer and the fucking printer doesn't work. If we would go back to the station, we would lose 44 minus 16 because active printing job. Look, the box is stuck. The fuck? Here as well. The fuck? Yeah, this is... I mean, even if you would do a simulation kind of stuff, yeah, this scenario could be realistic. But this is a game. And this is by design. Or it's a bug. But we know CIG by now, it is by design. So we need to go back once more time. That would be 16 SUs. We would lose 16 SUs. Yeah, we would like to have the indicator for the landing gear back. So let's try to repair. 200 something. So, okay, we touched down. We had auto printing turned off, then touched down, and now we can continue printing. We do it manually because we do not want to lose 44 SUs. Or do we? Yeah, one box out. Second box out. So we're gonna prepare the next ship. So we had 2 boxes on one side and 2 on the other, or 3, with manual printing while in the hangar. And we already see it from here. We still have these 2 boxes. Oh, there are more. Why there are more? Maybe this is the magic of video editing. We do not know what happened in between, but yeah, here you see 44. Why we still have 44? Is that a duping thing? Yeah, the reason why Star Citizen is no proper MMO is if the printing process takes up 30 seconds, why do we need to have someone else doing the printing while the other one is moving the boxes? Doesn't make sense, doesn't it? Because 30 seconds is enough to get back into the ship, hit the print button, go down the ship, move the boxes, go back up, print more boxes. Yeah, no need to. So the reason why we don't get rid of all the boxes is because we want to have all the construction pieces, the boxes, inside the ironclad. First of all, for satisfactory. We want to have a filled up ironclad at the end. And the other thing is the logistics. Yeah, we want to have one work order in the refinery. That means we need to have one source. Either it's the station or it is the ironclad. And we want to have the ironclad, of course. Yeah. And so we try to keep the boxes here at the station at minimum. And then once we are finishing here, then we move the boxes into the ironclad and do the work order from there. So now we have 4.1 in the buffer, plus 5.4, that gives 9.5, at least one box. Then we can print that one box, and then we have basically an almost empty buffer, and we can fracture a big piece, or disintegrate a big piece. Yeah, 1 point something. Manual printing. Yeah, we do manual printing. Big piece, 77. That will fill up the buffer. Yeah, that auto printing kinda doesn't really make sense. We have the Drake Vulture. If you press auto print and you continue scrapping and or disintegration, the printing function will stop. Yeah, you need to go down and continue. Makes kind of sense because that in and out at the same time, it's a little bit too difficult. Drake Vulture is an old ship, all good. That makes sense even in a mechanical way. Then we got the RSI Salvage. You can hit the auto printing and do scrapping and disintegration, and it works. Yeah, it just continues printing the boxes as soon as there are enough material inside the buffer. But here with the math, it's neither of them. It's something else. If we would have auto printing activated and we would scrapping and or disintegrating, it would stop the printing, which it does. That would make sense. But it should abort the printing process in general. So that means that we need to go back to the terminal and either click continue or just start a new printing job. That would make sense. That would make sense logically. That would make sense mechanically. That would make sense even in science fiction. Even in science fiction would that make sense. But it doesn't make sense that we have 3 different ships. Yeah, we haven't tried out the Fortune. That doesn't make sense that we have 3 different ships from the same manufacturer. And we mean with manufacturer CIG, not RSI, not Drake, and not Argo. No. We mean Star Citizens. Oh, the helmet. No, we mean the manufacturer of this environment, yeah? It is always CIG. And even if they have dedicated teams per ship manufacturer, would also make sense, even then, the base mechanic within Star Citizen should be the same. It doesn't matter what ship manufacturer you actually use, you know? And we talk about process, the process of scrapping and disintegration. And we do not talk about personality, if you will, of a ship's manufacturer. Because the personality of the ship's manufacturer is the buffer size, the printing panels, the box sizes you can print. Yeah, this is based on the ship size and the ship manufacturer. 29 SUs. Yeah, this one is too big. Even after disintegration, no, even after fracturing, the ship is too big. We need to find out a way how we can make it smaller. It's a lot of back and forth, back and forth. Manual printing. Yeah, the Tiburon is a large ship. Makes sense that we cannot fracture it with the moth. And if there are pieces bigger than the buffer, also kind of makes sense. Because it's a large ship. Don't know if the Maelstrom would make it possible to get smaller pieces even with the big ships. Looks good. It's looking good. We are about to make enough boxes that we even need to utilize the elevator grid before we offload into the ironclad. So here we got 8 SCUs. That is 32 on the elevator. It's a tight spot. But with the grid, the mag plates, which is the actual name of this elevator grid, mag plates, yeah, magnetic plates. It just flips in like that. Alright, so we got more places on the grid outside. We can still print more boxes, plus the 64 SUs of buffer. We got 2 less SUs in the buffer. We cannot, okay, we can print 1 box, then we are done. And then the buffer is kind of empty. The grid is kind of full. And here we suck in 93 SUs. That is a good yield. This is satisfactory poor. Pure satisfactory, yeah. Buffer full, grid full, elevator full. Aegis Day, we kind of like Aegis Day. That is awesome. It's kind of obvious that we do not have a continuation of this video editing. Like we said, this was something like a 5-hour session, 6-hour session, and this is what we think is the money-making process for us as a salvager when we do roleplay inside the sandbox of Star Citizen. Yeah, we do not play Star Citizen as a video game because by definition Star Citizen is no video game. Squadron 42 would be, but Star Citizen is just a big sandbox, a simulator basically, for different sorts of aspects like salvaging, mining, logistics, hauling, cargo, FPS, shooting, ship combat and whatnot. And yes, you can do some game loops, also known as contracts. That would be a thing. You can also call this one a salvage loop, if you will. But this is just how simulation works, yeah. This is what we are doing in IRL as well. We get up in the morning, go to work, come home, drink a beer, go to bed, and next day is the same. It's a loop, yeah. But if you go in a loop, you don't go anywhere. Running in circles. Alright, so we are in deep space and we do auto printing at least on one side, yeah. Just to find out how that actually works. No scrapping, no disintegration, only printing. And then we get rid of the boxes from the elevator here and then start continuing offloading the grid while auto printing at least on one side. We want to find out what will happen if we do auto printing and at the same time removing the boxes from the grid. One side is completely full, this one. Here we do auto print. Here we do manual printing. On the left side, which is empty, we do auto printing. And once we are done with this side, we do getting rid of the boxes on the left side, and want to see how the auto printing actually behaves. Yeah, right side is empty. That's what are we doing here? It was 2 days ago, I don't know, 2 days ago when we did the recording, we did the stuff, we were super busy, we did something else in next to play Star Citizen, we did something else as well, so we do not really know what we're actually doing here. But it looks like as if we go back to the station, or at least Melia does. Or are we done? Yeah, chaos, pure. But we are done, yeah, we are done here for today. We are... Is the gear down? Is the gear down? Yeah, that is the thing, when we do not have the indicator, if the gear is down or not, we do not know. And if we press twice, the extends the gear and retracts at the same time, or the same process, and at the end we land and we do not know what we have. We want to have the indicator back. Yeah, so now we bring the other boxes back up and bring it into the ship. And unfortunately we did delete the footage on where we did the work order, but we will see at the very end of the Drake Defense Con Salvage Challenge how many SEUs per day we did. Thanks for watching. See you next time.